Hello, this is John O.T. In this second part of the Magsimus Deluxe tutorial, we will create a small part of a new design and spend some time demonstrating useful tips for interacting with it in the system display pane. This design will be completed and calculated in subsequent tutorials. Let us begin with an empty Magsimus Deluxe session shown here and start populating it with components. We have here listed in the Design Manager the System node and an initially empty group node. Let's change their default names to meaningful ones. We click the System node once, then twice. We enter the new name. We do the same for the group node. Let us add a single component, also called simply an element, to our group. We click the second action button here. A dialog box for specifying the properties of the new component is displayed. Here you can specify geometric, electromagnetic, and other properties of the component under the different tabs of the dialog box. Clicking the Help button displays help information for the selected tab. Let us specify a new size for the component. We enter new data in this frame. Let us go to the electromagnetic tab, and from the magnet type box, let us select non-magnet. This means that the new component will be non-magnetic. Finally, let us specify a display color for the new component. In the Lines and Colors tab, with the element outline selected, we click the color button. We select a suitable color. We click OK. There. With that, we are done specifying properties for the new component. So let us click OK to exit the dialog box. The new component appears at the display pane. A new node appears at the Design Manager. Its text is activated to be edited. Let's give it a meaningful name. Let us add another element to the group, this time differently. We right-click the group node, we select Add, and then Element. In the Properties dialog box under the Geometry tab, let us specify a new size. Let us specify a new spatial origin for the component in this frame. These inputs define the component's origin in the parent group's coordinate frame. Choices from the input type box give you options on how the origin data is to be interpreted. Over here, Let us modify the spatial orientation of the component by entering new angular coordinates in this frame. Under the electromagnetic tab, let us make this a non-magnet. Let us define an output curve that will be plotted for this component during a calculation. Output curves are defined under the Data Output tab. The outputs are organized into different categories that are listed in the Data Category box. Selecting a category in this box lists possible data outputs that can be generated for it in the data type box to the left. Any pair of data outputs from any categories can serve as data sets for output curves. Let us create a data output by clicking the New button. New default data sets are created in the X and Y axis boxes. In our calculation, we want to plot the electrical current flowing through the component as a function of the calculation iteration count. We will create the electrical circuit that will produce this current in a later tutorial. We select electrical in the data category box and select current in the data type box. We click this button above the y-axis box to enter this data as the new y data. X-axis data are similarly defined, but in this case we will leave the default alone since it is what we want. We are now done with this component, so let us click OK. We rename its node to non-magnet 2. Notice that in the display pane, the new component is tilted in space based on the orientation we specified for it. The system components can be interacted with and manipulated directly on the system display pane. For example, I can click once on this component to display handles for interacting with it. The black handles mark the extent of the clicked component. The white handles mark the group extents. Double-clicking any component or group regions or system regions between groups launches the appropriate properties dialog box. For example, if I double-click here away from the group, the System Properties dialog box is displayed. Let us select this component again. We can stretch it by grabbing any of its handles and moving it. Let us move the second component by selecting it and grabbing it and dragging it. Let us also stretch it a little bit, like so. You can similarly stretch a group using its handles. Notice that all group components are stretched simultaneously when we stretch the group. You move a group by clicking and dragging in the space between its components, like so. You can move a group or component more precisely by selecting the shortcut menu item, Move Group or Component manually. This brings up a dialog box that allows you to specify the displacements you need. Next, let us quickly go through the System Display toolbar, which, as you may recall, is the bottom toolbar of this tool right here at the top. We have stretched and moved stuff quite a bit. We can undo the last change by clicking the Undo button. Clicking the Redo button, this button, reinstates the change. Let's click the Undo button several times to undo all the previous changes we made. There. To prevent interactive changes in the display pane, we click the Lock Components button, this one here, with the Open Lock. After doing this, notice that the icon has changed to a closed lock. Clicking the button again unlocks it. We will leave it locked down for the remainder of this tutorial. You can specify the default state of this button in the Environment dialog box that can be accessed in the Special menu. The next 4 buttons are used to perform various zoom actions. The first one, this one, is the Zoom Full button. Clicking it displays the system so that it fills up the System Display pane. This next button is the Zoom Box button and allows you to zoom into any part of the design. Click it once and then use standard mouse zoom actions in the display pane to zoom into any region of interest, like so. This next button is the Zoom Last button. Clicking it a few times displays in turn prior views of the design. The sequence of views continues indefinitely in wraparound order. In the Environment dialog box, you can specify the maximum number of views to recall. This is the Zoom Out button. You can see how it works as we click it a few times. While still on the subject of zooming, elsewhere over at the Design Manager, you can zoom in around the design group, right-click its node, and select Zoom Display near Group. You can do the same for a group's component by selecting a similar menu item. This is the Rotate Component button. Clicking it displays a dialog box for rotating components and groups individually. The next button is the Perspective View button. Clicking it displays a dialog box for specifying the manner of rendering the perspective drawing of the system. This button is the Show Motion button. It is used to display defined mechanical motions in the system. We will see it in action in a later tutorial. From this box, we select observation points to view the system. From this box, we select the component of the design to display. We covered quite a bit there. Let us save the design to file. There. This brings us to the end of part 2 of our Magsimus Deluxe tutorial. Here is a recap of what we learned and what's to come in part 3. Thank you.